US forces in Iran. The IDF Chief of Staff, Ayaz Zamir, said that the initial surprise strike phase had involved establishing air superiority and attacking ballistic missile sites. He said there would be additional surprises in the next phase to further dismantle the regime. Overnight, Israeli warplanes carried out their 14th wave of strikes on Iran since Saturday, with heavy bombing reported in Tehran and other cities.
Gulf states say they've intercepted air attacks from Iran. Qatar said it had thwarted a drone attack on Al Udeid Air Base, the biggest U.S. base in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia said it had destroyed 3 missiles aimed at the Prince Sultan Air Base. Bahrain also said it had intercepted 3 missiles. The U.S. has eased its embargo on Russian oil after prices rose because of the Iran war. The U.S. Treasury Secretary said he was granting India a 30-day waiver to buy sanctioned Russian oil in an effort to sustain flows in the global market. More measures to ease fuel costs are expected later on Friday from the White House. Here's Nick Marsh in Singapore.
The price of oil has risen by almost 20% since the start of the war, and it's already translating into higher petrol prices for Americans. It's not ideal for the president, given he made the cost of living and lower fuel costs the cornerstone of his State of the Union address last week.
And the one gas station that dropped it below $2 lost $300,000.
But it could include a rare intervention in the oil futures market.
The U.S. Defense Department has designated the artificial intelligence firm Anthropic as a supply chain risk for refusing to allow its technology to be used for mass domestic surveillance or fully autonomous weapons.
Thanks, Anthropic.
Anthropic has pledged to challenge the designation in court. Here's Lily Jamali.
The designation by the Pentagon takes effect immediately and marks the first time the U.S. government has classified an American firm as a supply chain risk. The Pentagon said the military will, quote, not allow a vendor to insert itself into the chain of command by restricting the lawful use of a critical capability and put our warfighters at risk. At issue was whether the U.S. Department of Defense could use Anthropic's Claude AI model for mass domestic surveillance or targeting decisions made without human intervention. Those were red lines drawn by Anthropic.
The national security conviction that saw him sentenced to 20 years in jail last month. No reason was given. The 78-year-old was found guilty in February on charges of foreign collusion and seditious publication. He was one of the most outspoken critics of China's ruling Communist Party. Ukraine's foreign minister has accused Hungary of taking 7 Ukrainian state bank employees, and their whereabouts and the reasons for their detention were still unknown, and accused Hungary of stealing the money.
Of course they did.
An Australian coroner that a teenage backpacker whose body was found on a beach in January drowned as a result of a dingo attack. Piper James, who was from Canada.
James had been travelling around Australia with a friend when they decided to spend some time living and working on Gari, the world's largest sand island known for its beautiful beaches, freshwater lakes, as well as a local dingo population. Piper James had been working in a local campsite in January when she decided to go for an early morning swim. A while later, her body was found surrounded by 10 dingoes. 8 of the animals have since been euthanized. A spokesman for the Coroner's Court of Queensland said Piper James had died as a result of drowning and had multiple injuries from dingo bites.
The new Formula One racing season has got on the first and second practice for the Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne. The race itself will take place on Sunday. That's the latest BBC World News.
Sorry to Piper James, but it doesn't seem like the dingoes were at fault.
Thank you very much indeed for that news. Hello, welcome to Newsday on the BBC World Service with Cooper Paddy and Shane Cotton.
This hour, we continue with our coverage of the war in Iran. We're going to map out how the war is spreading across the region. You'll hear from Kyrgyzstan, Azerbaijan and Lebanon, and we're keeping across our newswires and reports from colleagues on the ground with the very latest. As ever, we welcome your messages. Do get in touch on WhatsApp or via text. Our number, country code 4477 86 20 50 85.
We now and the seventh day of the conflict in Iran, and the US says it is ramping up its attacks on the country. Israel making similar comments. But in the last few hours, Qatar says it's intercepted a drone targeting a US military base there. The US has ordered the evacuation of its embassy in Kuwait, and Bahrain says that Iran has also targeted a hotel there. There are no reports of casualties in any of those incidents. Elsewhere, region, the armed group Hezbollah has warned Israeli residents to evacuate areas near the border with Lebanon. Israeli troops have already entered into Lebanon to Hezbollah. All in all, 7 days in, there are no signs of any tensions easing. In fact, Israel says the war has only just begun. On Thursday evening, the US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said American firepower over Iran will surge dramatically.
We have only just begun to fight, and fight decisively. If you think you've seen something, just wait. The amount of combat power that's still flowing, that's still coming, that will be able to project over Iran,
coming and projecting,
is a multiples of what it currently is right now when you add up our capabilities and those of the Israeli Defense Forces.
Speaking to NBC News, the US President Donald Trump said it would be a waste of time currently to send US troops to Iran, and that is not something he's thinking about right now.
And James, you've just wrapped up some of those geopolitical developments, and it's been much easier to keep across those in comparison to the humanitarian situation. That for us has been incredibly difficult to hear about inside Iran. The internet's been switched off by the government, but the BBC has been working to contact people, and we're going to bring you some of those voices across the course of the programme today. For their safety, our colleagues in BBC Persian have voiced up their messages. One woman in the capital, Tehran, says that many people say that they are pleased to see the bombing.
To be honest, I am actually quite happy. Today I come to hairdresser. I'm working remotely at the moment. They hit a lot of places near our house. They struck the police station and a Basij base. From what I can see, everyone's happy, though they are stressed because of the sounds. People are saying they hope the rest of the officials get hit so we can be rid of them. Then maybe it will turn into a situation where people come out into the streets.
Well, let's continue to get insight on the ground in the region now and speak to our colleague from BBC Persian, G.R. Gul. He is currently at the Iraqi border with Iran. That sits on Iran's western border. And following up on various reports of fighters in the region might be preparing for involvement in the campaign against Iran. Welcome, G.R. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Can I start by asking you about the significance of developments in recent days with reports about Kurdish involvement?
Well, I think in the past few days, there has been a lot of expectation that the Kurdish fighters, Iranian Kurdish fighters, might enter Iran any moment. And obviously, President Trump yesterday, again, repeated his support for them if they wish to go in. But there is a lot of waiting at this point of time. I think what we have been seeing in the past 3 days, the U.S. and Israeli jets and missiles have been pounding every single military station, Revolutionary Guards, intelligence offices, even border patrol station along the border, I think in the western border, which is predominantly Kurdish in that region. I think that's the expectation. They are trying to pave the way. Maybe the situation become prepared for people, for those Kurdish fighters to go in. But in the same time, Iranians have been pounding their bases with drone and missiles. And also yesterday, one of the Iraqi Kurdistan oil fields was also hit. The airport has been hit, damaged severely. Iraqi Kurdistan in Erbil, in Suleimania, another major city. So the Kurdish officials in Iraq, Iraqi Kurdish officials, are extremely nervous the war might spill over to their region. They have said they don't want to get involved in this war, but it seems President Trump have asked them they should help the Iranian Kurds to fight Iranian, but so far they have said they want to stay neutral.
You're at that border, and I appreciate you've just arrived, but have you managed to get any feeling there about how ordinary people are feeling? Is there an equal sense of nervousness about how this might impact them?
Quite frankly, I have not. I haven't been able to meet people, but what I have been monitoring on social media, and also before going to Iraq, talking to those people who are on the ground, and I think there is a lot of expectation. Those Kurdish people who are in the border region in Iran, they are extremely nervous because the internet is completely shut down. They don't know what is going on
How have
in
you
the
been
world.
monitoring
Obviously,
social
very
media?
few people have a Starlink satellite, and they can send out footages and information what's happening. But I think people obviously extremely nervous every single day. There is a massive bombing in their hometown, although it is targeting the security forces, but many of those police stations, security forces, offices are inside civilian areas, and I think many civilians have been affected by this as well.
And Gia, whilst we have you, I think it would be helpful for us to better
If they shut
understand
down the internet days ago, why isn't
importance of the
Elon
Kurdish
Musk at
people and
Starlink
just
there?
understand better how, we've got an ethnic minority group
And why
here
didn't you do this to
without
Russia?
an independent state that cross borders and what the relationship is like between, say, Iranian Kurds and Iraqi Kurds.
Well, Iranian Kurds and Iraqi Kurds pretty much just a line called border divide them culturally, language-wise, are very similar. But I think Iran has a sizable Kurdish community, at least twice as Iraqi Kurds. They're around, the estimate is, they say between 8 to 12 million, but we believe it is more than that because normally the official doesn't say exact number of the Kurdish population for political issues, but 4 provinces in Iran is predominantly Kurdish, and there is an aspiration at the beginning. I mean, obviously they're in for independence, but I think the Kurdish leadership, Kurdish political parties, if you talk to them, they say that's the aspiration, but we understand the reality and dynamic on the ground. They are asking for a federal, democratic, secular Iran, and in a federal system, they believe that they may be able to have a say in the way they run their region, the way they, in terms of language-wise, be able to teach their children language. I think there is so many things, but at this point of time,
Well, they just go for their own Kurdistan where
parties, Iranian one,
everything's up in the air.
Federalism for Iran.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I just want to expand on that because James
But
and I
also,
are
they could
talking.
just not have any opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think we've got a bit of interruption on the line there. We will leave it there. I think you have to go there. GR goal for us at the Iraqi-Iranian border, keeping across developments there as that war continues.
Yeah, we're going to look at another dimension of the conflict right now in Lebanon. In the past few hours, state media has reported Israeli airstrikes in the south of the capital, Beirut. Residents of southern Lebanon as well have been asked to leave by the Israeli forces and what many see as a precursor to full-scale ground incursion by Israeli troops. Yesterday, Lebanon's government said more than 120 people have been killed by Israeli strikes. Nearly 700 people have been injured in the last few days. A far-right Israeli minister, Bezalel Smotrich, said one Beirut suburb, Dahia, known as the Hezbollah stronghold, would very soon resemble Khan Yunis. That's a part of Gaza devastated by Israel's offensive there. Meanwhile, Hezbollah, the Lebanese group, has warned Israeli residents to evacuate towns within 5 kilometers of the border. Let's speak now to the Lebanese independent MP, Yassin Yassin. Welcome to the program. What's your understanding of what is happening in Lebanon right now?
Good morning to you. What is happening right now? We cannot really disconnect it from what has happened over the past years, or especially over the past couple of years or less. What Hezbollah is currently presenting this battle, they're trying to say that it's a response to the Israeli violation over the past 15 months. This basically does not align with the consequence of the events that the decisions that were made in the institutions of Lebanon. So this dragging Lebanon into this battle, into this war, is a complete violation of the law of Lebanon, as the consequences of events, as I said, over the past year and a half were taken by the Lebanese government.
Okay, and so when Lebanon this week tries to in essence, ban Hezbollah's military and security activities. That's obviously a reaction to this and to the fear that the country as a whole is going to be dragged into a conflict. But does the Lebanese state have the force to make that pronouncement work?
Actually, Lebanese state and its institutions, its military institutions, apparently have been weakened over the years. We depend on support in strengthening this military wing, the Lebanese army, in order to be able to take actions. We have set a plan, as the Lebanese government has set a plan of basically 6 different points. Starting, the first point was from southern Litani to the border, the southern border, and the second point was from North Litani to a different point, and so on. Hezbollah did not deliver what they promised. The Lebanese state gradually were taken over these points, these bases of Hezbollah. Hezbollah gave the promise to all Lebanese institutions, government, the president, to the parliament, that they will not engage in this war. Apparently, this sudden engagement has only one answer to it, which is an order from the Iranian government ordering this so-called, in my opinion, Lebanese faction, Hezbollah, to get into the war.
You say so cool, but surely Hezbollah does have a huge amount of support in Lebanon. It's difficult to deny that, isn't it? Even if you personally disagree with its aims and objectives and methods.
Lebanon's dynamics, apparently the sectarian dynamics, the religious dynamics, unfortunately, the political system in Lebanon that was built by the most political parties have their support from different countries. For example, Hezbollah's base mainly belongs to the Shi'i faction, which is Hezbollah's direct support from Iran. Unfortunately, this is the dynamics of Lebanon, and this is what we're trying to change, that to connect the people with the state rather than with their political parties that use them for their political agenda.
Do you see, though, a prospect of pulling Lebanon back from the brink of remedying what is already a very, very difficult situation for so many people?
What's the question?
We have one choice only. Hezbollah to surrender its weapons to the Lebanese state. Unfortunately, having said what we've said, if Hezbollah's agenda does not align with with Lebanon as a country, and refusing to surrender their weapons, therefore they, in my opinion, they consider the Lebanese state as a foreign to them, as a foreign to their agenda. The only way to save what we have left is for them to surrender all their weapons and stand behind the Lebanese government, as most Lebanese are asking, as most members of parliament are asking, even those who are their allies. The Amal faction movement that were led by the parliament speaker of the House. He's angry at them, even though for the past 25 or so years they were together. Allies. And now he's not happy with their decision.
That was so uninformative.
Yassine, thank you so much. We're going to have to end it there. Lebanese MP, independent MP, Yassine.
Sport.
An interesting name, and then the rest of everything he said was really boring and uninteresting.
Sport now with Rebecca Atkins.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Krupa. Well, the Women's Africa Cup of Nations has been postponed just 12 days before the tournament was due to begin in Morocco. The Confederation of African Football said that unforeseen circumstances were the reason for the postponement until July, but didn't elaborate. Elsewhere, Mohamed Ouabi has replaced Walid Regragui as Morocco's men's head coach. Ouabi was previously in charge of the nation's under-23s, and he takes over after Regragui said the team needed a new lease of life before the World Cup this summer. Tottenham Hotspur are in real danger of relegation from the English Premier League after losing at home to Crystal Palace.
Palace scored 3 goals in 12
Who's
minutes to
Rousey?
come from behind to win 3-1, leaving Spurs a point from safety. And it was a 1-2 for Ferrari in first practice at the Australian Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc set the fastest time, followed by teammate Lewis Hamilton, with Max Verstappen in third for Red Bull. And second practice is currently underway.
Rebecca Adams, thank you. And just to repeat for any Arsenal fans like me listening, Tottenham Hotspur are in real danger of relegation.
Don't crow, James.
Too soon, yeah. Rebecca, thank you. Now, the United
Don't
States
crow,
says it will give
James.
India a 30-day waiver to buy Russian oil, which had previously been sanctioned due to the war in Ukraine. The country's Treasury Secretary said he was trying to sustain the flow of oil into global markets in a bid to stabilize prices, which have shot up since the war in the Middle East started.
Trump's just a Russian agent.
Marshall, our business desk in Singapore, is the man to go to on this. So, Nick, will this stabilise prices, do you think?
It might have that effect, not because anything would change in a material sense. I mean, there's still millions of barrels of oil stuck in the Strait of Hormuz. And also there's no indication really that India stopped buying Russian oil in spite of this embargo. But it might have the effect of just giving people a little bit of confidence that the US is at least doing something or being seen to do something to try and stabilize these prices, which have shot up by 20% since this war started, let's not forget. And I suppose the name of the game really now from the US point of view is to just avoid panic.
Right, yeah, and a key part of that, I guess, is the Strait of Hormuz, so vital for global trade, and Iran threatening shipping through that. The US wants to smooth passage through that vital strait. Has there been any progress on that?
No, Iran is still very much in control of the Strait of Hormuz. You've had Donald Trump talking about providing cheap insurance to boats that want to pass through, but it's still too dangerous. Talking about naval escorts as well. The White House is going to come out with some measures to talk about, how they're going to stabilize oil prices, but we haven't heard
After
anything
messing
yet.
everything up.
Interestingly, though, James, we've heard that there are negotiations between China and Iran to allow vessels bound for China, a massive importer of Middle Eastern oil, to get through. So we're going to really be monitoring that one closely.
Marsh, our business desk in Singapore. Thank you.
And just off the back of what you, James, and
That
Nick
is
were talking
interesting.
about, can really recommend to our readers a brilliant piece over at BBC News Online, Fuel and Remittances, How the Iran Conflict Hits India at Home. A really interesting piece, very insightful.
Okay,
on
I gotta go.
remittances, but also gas and energy by Saltik Biswas, our India correspondent. So far this half hour alone, we have spoken about how the war in Iran is filtering out to the region of Kurdistan as well as Lebanon. We're now going to move northwards as we turn to Azerbaijan now. Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev promised retaliation after what he called a terrorist Iranian drone strike. The country's southern airspace near the Iranian border has also been closed for 12 hours. The Iranian army has denied launching drones that hit an airport and a site near a school in the western territory of Nakhichevan, instead blaming Israel for the attack. Well, let's speak now to the Azerbaijani journalist Javid Aga. Thank you for joining us, Javid. What is your understanding of the situation at the moment?
Thanks for having me. Yes, yesterday there have been at least 2 drone attacks launching from Iran, even though Iranian side denied it on official levels. Azerbaijan, so to speak, did not buy it, but it does not really matter from the Azerbaijani side whom launched it. Evidently, it came from the Iranian side. It's the responsibility of the Iranian state. If it's doesn't matter if it's a false flag attack or some rogue general,
So
it's still the responsibility of Azerbaijan. And Aliyev's latest statements, yesterday's statements, was so fiery that it was the I haven't seen anything like it so far. Since Aliyev is also from Nakhchivan, he might even take it something like a personal attack.
When he says,
so they're saying maybe Israel sent the drones through Iran to attack Azerbaijan, but Iran didn't shoot them down, so it's Iran's fault?
Original of the speech was
when Iran's getting attacked by Israel and USA?
That would be the
Still sounds like Israel's fault if they're the ones who sent the drones.
Translation into English, and the countermeasures could be everything, and in many ways. But so far, Aliyev ordered the military to come into first-degree preparatory positions. So, like, all the military personnel was recalled from holidays, and basically the army is on high alert. But it's so far it does not mean any martial law or anything. So it is actually very normal for a country that has a major combat operation going on the neighbors.
Israel is using a lot of AI targeting in Gaza, so
places in the UAE, Oman,
it might
Qatar,
be
etc.,
AI.
might be targeted by Iran. But what about Azerbaijan? Why would Iran want to strike
Crystal asked, what I would like to know is hear about those strikes in Iran. Who is in control, AI or human? There's no logical explanation for Iran to attack.
Since Pezeshkian announced that they have relegated controls to various governors and basically decentralized the military leadership, it could be some responsible generals alone idea, or it could be another misfired drone destined for Turkey, the NATO bases in Turkey.
But before you figured out any of that stuff, you're just going to blame Iran.
From those targets, and it could really be some sort of in Iranian sides there has been rumors going on that Israel has some sort of bases or listening posts in Azerbaijan. It could be one of their possible alleged targets, but I do not think that Nakhchivan is really hosting this civilian airport. Is hosting this kind of operations base.
Just very, very briefly, you mentioned Israel there. What is Azerbaijan's relationship with Israel, and might that be a factor here?
Azerbaijan is a major oil supplier to Israel, and Israel is a major weapons supplier to Azerbaijan, and Aliyev himself boasted about this, and there's around $5 billion relationship, and Israel has, even just before the strikes, there have been what could be described as a business flight from Israel to Azerbaijan.
And that's an important point to highlight. Javed Aga, Azerbaijani journalist, thank you for bringing that to our attention here on Newsday. Plenty more on the war in Iran coming up after the latest BBC World Service News.
Oh, so how are you going to say that business flight was canceled like the 9/11 situation?
Distribution of the BBC World Service
anyway,
in the US is made possible by American Public Media.
see y'all later.
Distributor of award-winning public radio.